Low and slow Texas style brisket, hickory smoked in an oven. I'm using a Ninja FOODI XL Pro oven, but you can use any oven you got. That's a little over a 7-pound brisket right there. It's about the fourth one I've done, and I've got some of the kinks worked out. I'm going to share everything I've learned with you, what works best and what don't. And I promise you, it's really close to what you get off of a real smoker. I'm John Sanders, also known as Jelly 007. Let's smoke this brisket. All right, here's what we're working with. It is a beef brisket flat, USDA Choice Angus, 7.20 pounds from Sam's Club. It looks really good. And I'm going to trim it just a little bit to get some of that fat off. I'll show you that. I may have to cut it down to fit my pan just a little bit, but not a lot. Here's how I'm getting the hickory smoke. That right there. It's Weber's hickory smoked salt, and here's why I like it. Sea salt, natural hickory smoke flavors, cocoa powder, and then some other stuff. But that right there is why I like it. Natural hickory smoke flavors. Well, that sounds to me like they smoked this salt. In other words, they didn't add a liquid smoke to get that flavor or anything. Now, I don't know that. I'm not affiliated by any way with anything you see here, but I've got my pepper grinder also set up to what I'm going to use, which is Aaron Franklin's ratio, which is 50-50 salt and pepper. And he uses what he calls the size of his pepper is a 16 mesh. Well, I did a little bit of research, and I've got my grinder set up to what I think is pretty close to a 16 mesh. What we're going to do is 4 tablespoons of pepper and 4 tablespoons of hickory smoked salt, and there's what I got left from some of the others, but I'm going to put that in there. We're going to shake that over it, get it in the oven, and get this started. Be back. Okay, I did want to show just a little bit, although there's hundreds of videos on YouTube that show how to trim a brisket a lot better than I can, but you can see how easy it is right quick, and I'm not going to show much more. That's what I do. I just drag off the fat and some of the silver skin. Not a big deal if you don't get it all, although I get the majority on this side, and I cook fat side down. I didn't forever, but I do now. I think it produces a better product, but I'm going to get some more of that off. The reason I get it off is because if you don't and you put all your seasoning on here, when you're done cooking it, this is the side that'll be presented up, and when you go to slicing it, and if you got to take that fat off, there goes all your bark and all your seasoning. And I do that on Boston butts and everything. I don't leave a big clump of fat on the side I'm going to be cutting from. And you can see right here, now they did this. I didn't do any of that. I'm not going to do anything to it. Sam's does a real good job. I say I'm not. I may get a little bit, but I don't think so. That right there looks good to me. And if people don't want to eat it when you serve it, they can cut it off then. I mean, it's not a big deal. I think it helps protect the meat while it's cooking, and I think it helps keep fat in. It kind of holds it. It's something for it to rest on to keep it from just running out the bottom. Anyhow, I'm going to get that fixed up a little bit better, and I'll be back. All right, I'm going to harp on this a little bit because it is super important to a way better brisket when you're serving it, and that is cutting across the grain. And if you see right now, before it's seasoned and before it's cooked, it's easy to see that grain. It's simple. Well, what I'm getting at is when you're slicing it, you want to be as close to exactly like that is. I mean, you don't even want to be off a little bit. You want to as close as you can get, just like that. And it will serve and tear and eat and everything a lot better. So one of the ways I do to keep up with it, because like I said, once you season it all, it's not that simple to see. And sometimes it is, but a lot of times it ain't. But I just make me a little cheater point right there, and I know when I pull this brisket out, I'm going to slice just like that in that angle. So anyhow, be back. Okay, that is the fat side, and I didn't do anything to it. That is the way Sam's trimmed it. It's fine with me. I think it does fine. It helps protect it while it cooks. I'm using olive oil today because we're doing low and slow. There's no really high temp, so there's no reason for my normal avocado. I'd usually just kind of spritz it a little bit just to help this seasoning stick a little bit, because we're going to cook it. I'll just say a little bit. We're going to cook it to 160, then we're going to pull it out and wrap it in parchment paper and aluminum foil, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But here is my 4 tablespoons of smoked salt, and 4 tablespoons of black pepper, and here we go. I adjusted my grinder and got this pepper a little bit heavier than I normally do, just for me to know, but it's no big deal. You can just any coarse pepper will do. Quite honestly, it's going a little too far to possibly trying to get on exactly what Aaron Franklin does. I just try to stay close for the fun of it. But anyhow, that's how I'm going to leave it, just like that. I'm going to let that sit a minute. I may press it in a little bit like that, and then I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to do the other side. See you all in a minute. All right, here we go with the other side. And just like the other one, no big deal. Just sprinkle it on there. Try not to get any real heavy spots. Common sense. Just a light coating. I don't cover it where I can't see the meat no more. I don't do that. I mean, not on purpose. Sometimes I do it by accident, but it's not a big deal. I'll spread it out if I do. And I try and get some on the side. So no need in you seeing all this. Just giving you an idea of what I do, and I'm going to have to slow down where I can get it on the sides. But just hold your hand there and kind of get it there and pack it on. But you get the idea. Okay, there it is on my roasting pan, and I did not trim it or cut it down in any way. It fit on there. I did have to kind of compress it, but take my word, it'll work fine. It's going to shrink while it's cooking, so it'll go in a little bit. You just want to make sure it's not hanging over the edge. You don't want it dripping in your oven. I put my thermometer in. I'm using a smart oven, and I've got it kind of on an angle, but pretty much in the thickest point, because we're going to 160. But not just that. If it's not, it doesn't have to be exactly 160 with me. I just want to make sure it looks good. And somewhere around 160, we're going to pull it out, wrap it with parchment paper, and then wrap that with aluminum foil. Now, I'll explain that later if need be. But the thing is, now I will say this oven, and this may be part of the thing that people have complained about the temperature. I have found doing this that on the bake feature, it's about 25 degrees low. I mean, if you set it for 300, I've got a thing right here that I did a complete test of it. But roughly, all I really need to say is about 25 degrees low. So I'm going to cook this at 250. I'm going to set the oven to 250, but keep that in mind if you're using a different oven. And it's depending on how long you want it to stay. I found that 10, 15 degrees really don't mean that much in the end product. But it does add some time. So to get this started, like I said, I've got everything set up. It's on here, so I got to move around here. Let me adjust the camera. But pretty much, here's what I'm doing. Put it in. Now, it always says rack 3 in this oven, again, if you're using this oven. But I don't. With the brisket, I use 2, rack 2. And that's because it puts it right in the center of my oven, and it's kind of flat, so it's not like a roast or something. Anyhow, I'm going to put that in just like that. Insert the probe. Turn it on. Now, again, if you're using this oven, I'm going to move this to right here. This is how I do it. It's already on bake. I'm going to set the temp to 250. Now I'm going to press manual, and I want that set to 160 because that's when I'm going to probably pull it. And then we got to hit start, and that is all there is to it. We are off and running. There's our current temp. There's our target. Now, one last thing. This oven won't run. With the thermometer in there, it won't run past 4 hours. And I'm going to show you a way around that. It's no big deal. All you got to do is turn it back on or reset your timer when it gets close. So, I'll explain that in a minute, but we are off and running. Be back. All right, I just wanted to show it. The oven just went to preheat. I started as a timer, so we'll have an idea about how long the entire cook is. This is a perfect example of the stall, and that is it hit 156 at 240. Well, that's almost 30, well it is 30 minutes for the last 4 degrees. And we're definitely in the stall right now, which is a perfect time to wrap because that's when all your moisture's leaving. That's how the stall works. I'm not going to get into that, but this brisket looks perfect. And I think I'm going to give it just a few more minutes to cut off. And if it doesn't, I'm going to pull it out because I'm good with the way it looks. I'm going to shut it down. It looks fantastic. I'm going to pull it out. We're going to wrap it, and then I'll reprobe it with the wrap on and get it started for our next phase 2, the wrapped part. So I'm going to press stop. I'm going to open it up. You know what? I probably should have unplugged it before I did that. I'm going to slide this back, and you can see that, man, that's exactly what I look for. That's what I want. I mean, it looks good. I'm going to get it off of here carefully and make sure that probe doesn't hang on something. I'll lay it down real easy, not to make any holes in any of my stuff. Got to get this somewhere. I had to pull this out for now, and it already feels good. I mean, that came out real easy. I'm going to take these gloves off where I can wrap it a little better. And that is all it's about, is this right here, wrapping it up. And that. I'm sure this is rather noisy, but I just want you to see it. Of course, go up with all the paper because I don't want any liquid to run out. And that's what this is about, to keep it from drying out, especially in an oven and an air frying oven at that. But right there, now I'm going to go back to somewhere reasonably within, reasonably close to where I was. So right there is all I'm going to do. I did angle that the wrong way, and I hope that's not going to be a problem, but if it does, I'll fix it. And we're going to go right here. And that is a little warm, but not drastic. And that worked. I was afraid I had my probe sticking out in the wrong direction. It was going to hit my fan or something, but it didn't. So right there, we're going to leave it at 250. Make sure everything's still the same. We're going to move the temp, though, to 190. We're off and running. 3 hours and 15 minutes, and we'll see where we get it out at and take a look at it. Be back. Okay, it just ended at 5 hours and 42 minutes. And the beauty of this oven is you don't do anything. I mean, you don't open the door. You don't do anything. You just leave it sitting. And where a lot of people wrap them in towels and put them in coolers and all. Well, from what I saw with this oven, it dissipates the heat real well. It cools down fairly fast, so it's not trying to it's not trying to cook it any further. It's just resting. So that's what we're going to do. A lot of people recommend, say, 2 hours. Well, we're probably going to let it go, I don't know, an hour or so, but see y'all then. All right, we've rested for about an hour and a half. Let's see exactly where it has got to. 176 degrees internal temp. So I'm about to get it out of there. In fact, let's just do that. We'll go ahead and unplug it. And I don't think I'm going to need those gloves. Nope, it's not that bad. I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to get it opened up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to move the camera where you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to open it up. Might as well pull this out. And that came out real easy. I think that's a good sign, in other words. Let's see what we got. And I see plenty of liquid, so that's another good sign. And it looks excellent. I think it does. That's exactly what I want to see. And you can see it shrunk up a good bit. That's what happens. And I'm going to take my time here in a minute and get this moved over here to the cutting board. And then we're going to start doing some slicing. It is a little warm, but there it goes. And that's what it looks like right out of the oven. And there are the juices that I'm about to figure out how to recover, because I'm going to use those, especially when I put it up. So I'm going to get something to pour that into, and I'll be right back. All right, I got this poured over into my Pyrex measuring cup, and you can see it's a good bit. It's a decent amount of it. I put it like that, and you can let the grease or the fat settle out to the top and do what you will with it, but I'm going to keep it to where I can pour it across it. What we got to do right now is slice it and see how it looks, and I got to come at it at the right way, so I may have to move the camera a little bit. But here is the point I cut off, so we'd know exactly which way to go. So that's what we're about to do. And here we go. And we're going to cut to about, I don't know, a couple of inches in, and then we'll take a look at a piece. It is looking as good as you can imagine right now. About pencil thin is what they say. So I'm going to get one more cut right here. And we're going to take a look at it. But you see, I think you can. In fact, I'm going to try and hold that up just like that before I move it. That is worth doing, and I think you'll agree that there's nothing wrong with that right there. And it would be, especially when you pour this over it a little bit, but that right there, I mean, for an oven, that is really hard to beat, and that's a little bit thick, but let's see how it pulls. And that I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, this is it's an oven. It's, you know, it's not like a smoker or anything, but still, when you taste it, it tastes to me just like it came off a smoker. It just does, and it is very good. There is nothing wrong with it. That right there, I don't know if I had that where you could see it while I go or not. That right there is excellent, excellent brisket, and that is the way it's supposed to be. In fact, I bet you couldn't see what I was doing when I go, so I'm going to do it again. But there you go. And that works for me. I mean, for a brisket that's done in your oven, and even though I've got temps that I'm going to share after this when I go over the other stuff, get my hands, I've got plenty of tests I've done, different temps, and they do come out a little different, no doubt. But that right there for 7 hours, and that's resting and all, ready to serve, is really, really, it's going to be one of the best you'll ever eat. That's not done on the smoker yet. It tastes like it is. And I mean, again, this is the 4th or 5th one I've done, and we have not thrown a single single one away. We eat every one of them. They are, I've had family members over here, and everybody has agreed that it's great. It tastes, it's really impressive how close that salt right here gets to a smoked flavor. I'm super impressed. I'm going to use it on a lot of stuff. So anyhow, one more bite. And there's the other thing I was going to say. You see the fat. Well, if you don't want to eat it, which a lot of people do, as you cut it off, you just trim that off if you don't want to eat it. But you can see it's not that much. I just don't think that side's worth trimming. But anyhow. But for cooking a brisket in the oven, this right here works excellent. And that method I just did works excellent. I appreciate y'all watching. I love y'all all. Come back to see me. All right, you're going to have to kind of use your imagination here because, but my point is, here's what I'm getting at. If you're using the thermometer with this oven, and I don't quite understand it, but for whatever reason, it cuts off after 4 hours. It does not matter if your current temp is anywhere near your target or not. Don't rely on that. And I'll say this, if you do the same recipe we just did, I had it set at 250, and say you set it down to 230 to make it a lower and slower cook, it's going to go past 4 hours. I did it several times. But here's my point. Right now, we're currently 71 because it's laying on the counter. My target's 190. Well, here's how you tell what your oven, how long it's been cooking. You just press this manual button. It'll come up, it'll say oven, and it'll show you you've been cooking right now 2 minutes and 47 seconds. And then it automatically goes back to the probe reading. All right, well, say that 2 minutes and 47 seconds was 3 hours and 30 minutes or whatever, anything before 4 hours. All you have to do, and it is super simple and it's not even a big deal, is just walk up, turn the power off, and then it remembers everything you had. The last setting you cooked at, it remembers. So you turn it back on. The one thing you do have to do is press this right here and tell it again that you have the probe in. So now we're still at 190. You saw it. It's still set to 250. It's still set to 190 for your target. You just press start. You're back and running. And your, if it has been through, yep, your counter has reset. Now we're back to 8 seconds. So it doesn't matter when you do that, it'll reset it and you've got another 4 hours. And if it cuts all the way off, you do the same. If it's standing here and it cuts off at 4 hours, you can just do the same thing by going through the motions right there. So that's the easiest way I found. About every 3 hours, I would just reset it. That's the best way. I'll say this right here. That's some really good stuff, but man, we love this right here. And we got this off of Amazon. Kind of pricey, but it's Aaron Franklin's barbecue sauce, and that espresso goes excellent with a brisket. Excellent. But I would get this too. It's good too. I haven't tried. He's got a third one I haven't tried. But anyhow, hey, if y'all saw anything y'all liked here, or for whatever reason you just want to leave me a thumbs up, I will appreciate it. I love y'all all. I hope you enjoyed that brisket. I'm going to tell you something. It's almost as good as what I get off my green egg, and I'm not just saying it. I mean it. Love y'all all. Come back and see me. Bye-bye.